Adam Newman had always believed that life had a way of throwing curveballs. It was something he'd grown used to over the years. From his complicated relationship with Victor to his rocky past with Chelsea, Adam knew that happiness often came with strings attached. But even so, he had allowed himself to believe that things were finally looking up. For the first time in a long while, Adam felt like he had a future with Chelsea Lawson. Their romance had weathered its fair share of storms, and though neither of them were keen on rushing things, they were in a solid place. Adam could feel the warmth of their connection every time they shared a quiet moment together, but there was always that nagging feeling that something could go wrong at any moment. Chelsea, too, was in a place where she had allowed herself to hope again, but she was cautious, very cautious. The idea of tying the knot with Adam again after all they had been through made her anxious. She couldn't help but fear that a disaster was waiting to happen just when everything seemed perfect. The last thing she wanted was for their relationship to implode like so many others had in the past. As much as Chelsea wanted to dive fully into their love, she was afraid to jinx it by rushing ahead. Adam had a past filled with drama, deceit, and unexpected twists, and Chelsea knew all too well how quickly things could turn upside down in their world. She wanted to enjoy what they had, but she couldn't shake the fear that fate had other plans in store. Despite her hesitations, Chelsea didn't want to lose Adam. She knew, deep down, that he had changed. He wasn't the same man he used to be when he first returned to Genoa City, but that didn't mean the world around them would stop throwing obstacles in their path. It wasn't long before those obstacles began to surface, just as they always did. A trip to Las Vegas, of all places, was about to change everything. It started innocently enough. Adam and Nick Newman were planning a trip to Vegas, something that seemed like a simple business trip. The Newman brothers were supposed to track down Matt Clark, a dangerous enemy from their past. The details of the trip were vague, but Adam didn't think much of it. He was used to dealing with business-related drama, especially when it involved their family. He wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary. But something felt off from the moment they started making arrangements. Y&R had been teasing a possible storyline in Las Vegas, with new sets hinting at a bigger arc involving Adam's past. Adam had lived a different life before returning to Genoa City, one that he had left behind when he assumed the role of Spider in Vegas. It was a past full of secrets, lies, and temptations, and while Adam had tried to bury it all, he knew that Las Vegas held memories he couldn't erase. He had spent years trying to leave that life behind, but something told him that this trip wouldn't be as simple as catching Matt Clark. The more Adam thought about it, the more he realized that Vegas might hold more than just the key to finding Matt. It might bring up memories he had worked hard to forget. As the trip grew closer, Adam's anxiety began to grow. He had contacts in Vegas, people he hadn't seen in years. There was a chance he might run into someone from his past, someone who could stir up trouble in his present life with Chelsea. But what really haunted Adam was the possibility of crossing paths with one of his former flames. He had lived a wild life in Vegas before returning to Genoa City, and some of the women he had been involved with were more than just fleeting encounters. Could one of them show up during his trip, stirring up jealousy and insecurity in Chelsea? Adam pushed those thoughts aside. He couldn't afford to let his fears get the best of him, especially not now when things with Chelsea were finally stable. But there was no denying that something about this trip felt different. It wasn't just about Matt Clark anymore. There was a part of Adam that feared the past was about to come crashing back into his life. Then, of course, there was the matter of a possible surprise. As Adam prepared for the trip, a thought crossed his mind that he hadn't allowed himself to entertain before. What if there was more to his past than he remembered? What if he had unknowingly left behind a child, a son or daughter he had never known about? Could there be a child out there, a product of one of his relationships in Vegas, someone who would come looking for him? The idea hit him like a bolt of lightning. Adam knew he had made mistakes in his past, and he had been reckless with his relationships. But the idea of having a secret child out there, someone he had never met, was something he hadn't even considered. And the more he thought about it, the more the possibility seemed real. What if his past in Vegas had more consequences than he had ever realized? If he had a child he didn't know about, it would change everything. It would change the way he saw himself, and it would change his relationship with Chelsea. Connor might have a half-brother or half-sister out there, and Adam would be forced to confront the truth, no matter how messy it was. Adam's heart raced at the thought. He didn't know if he was ready for that kind of revelation, but if it was true, he would have to face it sooner or later. Meanwhile, Chelsea had no idea what was coming. She trusted Adam, but the thought of him traveling to Vegas alone with all the baggage that came with that city didn't sit well with her. She had her own concerns about the trip, but she hadn't shared them with Adam. She didn't want to sound paranoid or insecure, especially when everything seemed to be going well, but deep down she feared that something might go wrong just when she least expected it. As the days passed, Adam tried to push his fears aside. He couldn't afford to let his past interfere with his present. He had too much at stake now with Chelsea and Connor, but as he prepared for the trip to Vegas, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was going to be a trip he would never forget. The flight to Vegas was uneventful. Adam and Nick sat in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Nick, as usual, was more focused on the business side of things, determined to track down Matt Clark and take care of the problem. Adam, on the other hand, had other things on his mind. The closer they got to Vegas, the more his anxiety grew. As they arrived at their hotel, Adam couldn't help but feel the weight of the past pressing down on him. Vegas was full of memories he had tried to bury for years. He wasn't sure what to expect, but he knew that something was about to change. Nick was already eager to get to work, pushing Adam to focus on the task at hand. But Adam couldn't shake the nagging feeling that this trip wasn't just about Matt Clark. It was about something bigger, something that could threaten everything he had worked so hard to build with Chelsea. As they walked through the hotel lobby, Adam's phone buzzed. It was a text from Chelsea. "Be safe, I'm thinking of you." Adam smiled briefly, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. He wanted to be able to enjoy this trip, to focus on the task at hand, but he couldn't. His mind kept wandering back to the idea of a child he didn't know about. It was a thought that haunted him, no matter how hard he tried to push it away. Later that night, Adam and Nick hit the streets of Vegas to track down any leads on Matt Clark's whereabouts. They visited some old contacts, but no one seemed to know much about Matt's movements. As they walked through the neon-lit streets, Adam's mind kept wandering back to the possibility of a secret child. What if it was true? What if he had a son or daughter out there waiting to find him? Suddenly, Adam's phone rang. It was a number he didn't recognize. He answered hesitantly, "Hello." The voice on the other end was calm but urgent. "Is this Adam Newman?" "Yes," Adam replied, his pulse quickening. "Who is this?" "I think we need to talk," the voice said, "about your past in Vegas." Adam froze. "What do you know about my past?" The voice chuckled. "Let's just say I know a lot more than you think." Before Adam could respond, the line went dead. He stood there staring at his phone, his heart pounding in his chest. This was it, the moment he had been dreading. His past had finally come back to haunt him. And Chelsea was about to find out the truth.